Hello, everybody. This is English with Miss T, and today we're going to learn about the passive voice. To get the best of it, in this lecture, we're going to focus on answering the following questions. What is the difference between the active voice and the passive voice? When do we use the passive voice? What is the sentence structure like in the passive voice? And how to make sentences in the present simple and past simple tenses in the passive voice. To answer these questions, we should start with comparing the active voice with the passive voice. The majority of sentences we use in our speech are in the active voice. The subject in the active voice is very important. For example, John eats apples in the morning. John is our subject. Without John, the sentence doesn't make much sense. Who eats apples? John eats them. However, in the passive voice, the object is much more important than the subject. For instance, the apples are eaten by John in the morning. We can delete John and still have a complete sentence. The apples are eaten. We also use passive voice if we don't know the subject, the doer of the action. Example, the school was built in 2006. We don't know who built it. The most important information here is that the school was built. We don't know and we don't care who did it. One more key idea. The passive voice always needs an extra be in the sentence. If you don't add be, you will not have a correct sentence in the passive voice. This brings us to the next question. When do we use it? When do we use the passive voice? When the subject, the one who does the action, is not important and the object is more important than the subject. Here's an example. The room was cleaned every evening by people. The room is more important here. We don't really care who did it as long as the room is clean. Another point is that we use it when we don't know who or what did the action. For example, the window is broken. We don't know who broke the window. We just know that it is broken right now. Now, it's time to learn more about the sentence structure in the passive voice. In order to do that, let's compare the active voice with the passive voice. In the active voice, our sentences begin with a subject, then comes a verb, and only after it we have our object. Anna loves cookies. However, in the passive voice, first comes an object, then we add be. After that, we put our verb in the past participle, or we add ed after the verb, if the verb is regular. Only at the end you may add the subject, but you don't have to do that. For example, the cookies are loved by Anna. Two details to pay attention to here are: number one, put the verb be in exactly the same tense as the active voice. If the active voice is in the present simple, your extra be in the passive voice should be am, is, or are. Number two, the meaning verb should be in the past participle. Example, love, loved, loved. We use column 3 in the table of the irregular verbs if the verb is irregular. Otherwise, we simply add ed after the verb. Here's an example of a sentence. Alexander plays the piano. Alexander is our subject. Plays is the verb. The piano is the object. So we have subject plus verb plus object structure. Now let's convert it into the passive voice sentence. Here comes the magic. The piano goes right in the beginning. Then we should put the meaning verb, right? So since play is a regular verb, we simply add ed at the end. And only after that comes our dear Alexander. He's the subject here. Looks all right. But wait, how about the extra B? Oh, here it is. And it goes right here between the object and the meaning verb. Nice. But should we put is or are? Well, the piano is a singular noun. Only one piano is in this sentence. That's why we put is. Look at it now. Beautiful. The piano is played by Alexander. So we have our object plus be plus verb in the third form or verb plus ed. That's the past participle. Remember? Now comes our final question. We're going to learn how to make sentences in the present simple. So here you see the present simple sentences in the active voice. We have our subject, our verb, and our object here in both of these sentences. Number 1, Maria cleans the room on Friday. Number 2, boys read books. Now, let's take a look at the same sentences, but convert them into the passive voice. And now we have object, am, is, or are, plus verb in the third form, or verb plus ed. And after that, we may add by plus subject, or we may skip it, depending on the situation. So the first sentence, the room is cleaned by Maria on Friday. Since clean is a regular verb, we simply add ed at the end. The next sentence, the sentence number 2, the books are read by boys. Read is an irregular verb. Use the third column. All right. And our final topic, passive voice sentences in past simple. We have our active voice, the same structure, but pay attention. We have subject plus verb plus ed and verb to. What does it mean? This is the second column if the verb is irregular. And after that, we have our object. Number 1, Dan did his homework yesterday. Number 2, Liz and Max washed the dishes. Now let's convert these sentences into the passive voice. And here comes our structure. Object plus was or were, because the verb be in the past can be was if the object is singular, only one thing, or were if there are more than one things. Then we have verb in the third form or verb plus ed. Only after that we can add by plus the subject. But we don't have to do that. That depends on the situation. First example, the homework was done by Dan yesterday. So there was only one homework, so we put was. The second sentence, the dishes were washed by Liz and Max. So several dishes, not only one dish, there were probably more than one dish. As you can see, done came from do, because do is an irregular verb. So we convert do into done in the first sentence. And in the second sentence, wash is a regular verb. So all we need to do is add ed. Do not forget to check the table of the irregular verbs if you are not sure if the verb is regular or irregular. All right, here come the passive voice tips. Tip number 1, don't forget the extra B. No extra B, no passive voice. Number 2, put the extra B in the exact same tense as the active voice sentence. Number 3, if the object is in singular, use is in the present simple and was in the past simple. If the object is in plural, use are in the present simple and were in the past simple. If you are not sure whether the meaning verb is regular or irregular, check it in the table of irregular verbs. But remember, the meaning verb is always in the past participle. That's verb plus ed or verb in the third form. Good. Now it's time for practice. Here you can see 9 sentences in the active voice. Rewrite these sentences from the left column using the passive voice. I hope this lesson helped you to understand the basics of the passive voice better and how to use it in the present simple and the past simple.